insurance. And we like to walk our clients through all of that so that they know what they're getting up front. And then hopefully, and I think we do a pretty good job of executing on those promises at the back end.
It certainly sounds like it. And when it comes to employees, do the coverages that you offer also deal with employee benefits?
So that's a very interesting question. Yeah, we do quite a bit with the employee benefit sector in a couple of different arenas. So when it comes to employee benefits, the cannabis industry is actually utilizing employee benefits as a way to attract talent. There is a lot of transition right now, specifically from the younger workforce into the cannabis industry, away from some traditional jobs. And in that transition, there has become a very competitive marketplace. So we at HUB have developed a program and a process, and again, utilizing this national practice approach, some proprietary products around giving our clients the best set of tools to attract talent into their organization. From an employee benefits standpoint, that could mean a health and welfare plan. It could mean a 401k plan and some dedicated approaches for that. Now, from a liability standpoint as an organization, again, from a management liability perspective, anytime that you enter into a service for your employees, you're also exposing yourself to some liabilities. I mentioned at the outset a coverage called fiduciary liability. Fiduciary liability is a little bit different than a fiduciary duty in that it covers your exposures as it relates to the selection and administration of employee benefit plans, whether that be a 401k plan or a health and welfare plan. Anytime you select that type of plan, specifically on the 401k side or the financial side of things, you're actually exposing yourself to personal liabilities for the administration of that plan, whether it's selecting the correct provider, managing the fees associated with that program, making sure that you're not offering a 20-year retirement 401k when you have a bunch of 60-year-old employees that are going to retire in 5 years. So you really need to tailor your program to fit your employee base. And by doing that with a dedicated broker that specializes in this space, you can help mitigate some of those liabilities.
That makes sense. And what about covering errors and omissions made by employees? Like, for instance, in the dispensary business, there could be potential risk or exposure for the company if, let's say, a patient comes in and asks for medical advice that he or she should not be asking for from, someone who's a salesperson in a dispensary, and the employee decides to give advice that employee should not be giving because that employee is not a doctor or a medical professional. How would you recommend that companies protect themselves against that kind of exposure?
Well, with any exposure, there's a couple of different ways to do it, right? So you can transfer risk via insurance. You can accept risk by saying we train our people very, very well, and therefore we're comfortable with the advice they give. Or you can avoid risk and tell your people not to say anything and just sell product. I don't think the latter is the right option, especially if you're in the sales business. You're in a very competitive environment. So from a risk transfer standpoint, we offer solutions in the errors and omissions or professional liability arena. The vernacular, or what we're calling it in the industry, is bud tender errors and omissions. So it really gives an owner-operator of a dispensary, specifically at the retail level, the ability to feel comfortable that although they're putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort into training, and that training is not just at the bud tender level, it's also inside the technology. So you've got, dispensaries that have iPads out there that are telling you that this sativa is a certain type of sativa with a THC content of X, and it's designed to do Y. Or an indica, same type of thing, or the hybrid over here is of this certain genetic makeup. All of those things, all of the information that you're releasing to a client can potentially result in an errors and omissions or a professional liability type of exposure. So you can purchase insurance that picks up the errors and omissions of an individual in the delivering of professional services. And we at HUB really believe that the individuals that are working in the dispensaries are just that. They are professionals in the cannabis industry. And so if you hold yourself to that standard, there's the potential for the courts too as well. And so anybody that has that type of exposure should at least explore that option. It is not a compulsory coverage. It's not workman's compensation. It's not general liability. You don't have to buy it. But as a best practices and as a way to attract talent, it's certainly something that you could add into your tool belt and into your insurance program to be an asset for the organization.
And so, how often are you seeing cannabis operators offering or expanding their benefits to attract talent? Is this something that's super common?
We really operate through the life cycle of a cannabis company. And in the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of people go from the fundraising efforts into operational mode. And we're starting to see a lot of our clients start to turn profit. And as you turn profit, there's been more of a focus on the development of robust employee benefits plans. It kind of starts off with what can we afford, and then it almost always ends with what can't we afford to do. So if we don't do this, are we going to lose talent? If we don't have these types of offerings to our employees, are we going to be able to attract the best people that we possibly can? And I look at the startup culture that we had kind of going on here in Denver. And certainly in the 90s, you saw ping pong tables and beer fridges and everything that you needed to attract young millennial talent into the startup community. I think it's a little bit different in the cannabis sector, and that you're seeing, you don't have that kind of gamesmanship mentality with a bunch of video games and beer fridges and ping pong tables. It's more around what can we do to create a life for these people inside the industry so that they don't leave, so that they don't say, well, this is just a cannabis thing, and they say, no, this is a business that I want to be a part of for a long time.
And forgive me if you've already sort of covered this, but I just wanted to clarify. So can you also provide those employee benefits, the insurance benefits, to employers to offer to their employees?
Absolutely. So we have an entire division inside the cannabis practice that does nothing but employee benefits. So whether it's a health and welfare plan, negotiating the 401k waters, going through vision, going through dental, all of those types of things, we have not only the products that are available and kind of the ability to sell you those types of products, but we also have compliance solutions to make sure that your organization, who may not have purchased employee benefits plans in the past, have a solution that is compliant with federal and state regulations. That's
really great to know. So I'm wondering, is there anything else that you really have a burning desire for our audiences to know?
The audience here that I'm sure that we're talking to has a vested interest in seeing this industry succeed. And I think it's important that when you start talking about insurance, although it is a line item on your budget, there is a certain get what you pay for type of insurance that's out there. There is check the box coverage that will certainly suffice and allow you to complete certificates and pass statute. But on a bad day, it's just a piece of paper. I think what is equally important is to have a relationship with an insurance firm that specializes in this space and understands the exclusionary language that can be associated with a management liability policy, with a products liability policy, and has access to not only markets, but to risk management services and the ability to craft a program that's holistic in its nature so that it can really support the industry. This is not just a play to sell insurance. This is really a way for us, specifically at HUB, to support this industry and help it thrive, not just survive.
Providing these solutions to employers in the cannabis industry. And, I give you lots of kudos for being an early adopter in this industry, because I think it is such an important aspect of operating in the cannabis industry. So kudos to you.
Well, we appreciate that. And, I know we started this off, and I will end it with saying TJ Frost has really almost single-handedly created an insurance industry around the cannabis sector And he deserves a lot of credit, not only for what we've done at HUB, but across the industry at large with the way that he has elevated coverages, elevated just the knowledge around the industry. And guys at Wilson Elser did the same thing. And there's some very good operators in this space, and they take it very, very seriously. And we really appreciate them for doing that.
Well, the industry is definitely growing leaps and bounds. And I enjoyed our conversation with TJ Frost. And if anyone listening hasn't heard that interview yet, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of great nuts and bolts information in there. And especially if you are entering the cannabis industry and curious about insurance solutions that are really specifically designed for the cannabis industry, I completely recommend that interview. But I really appreciate your support of this Pro Series program because, as everyone knows, this is a sponsored program that allows you to get information more specifically about the company at large, and it supports all of the education that we do here at the Cannabis Reporter. So I thank you so much for your support in that regard.
It's absolutely my pleasure. And if anyone listening wants to reach out and get some more information on us or what we're doing, probably the best way to do it is go to hubinternational.com, or you can find me, Patrick Ryder, on LinkedIn, and that's RYDER. And we'd be happy to entertain any questions, engage in any conversation. And to be perfectly honest, I spend a lot of time on United and Southwest, and if you want me to come see you, I'd be happy.
Well, that's great to know. And Patrick, I will put all of your information online on the podcast post. And when people go into the website, they'll be able to pull up a page that'll have all of this information on it. So, but before we wrap it up, any last thoughts?
I really did enjoy the time today, and I just want to reaffirm the fact that we're committed to this industry. We're committed to seeing it succeed, and we really appreciate what you do as well. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your support. And we know who to recommend in the event anyone's asking us about the best insurance for this industry. So thank you so much, Patrick, for joining me today. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to me for this time. Appreciate you guys.
You're certainly welcome. Once again, it is time to bring another show to a close. I'd personally like to thank my guests, TJ Frost and Patrick Ryder, for sharing their insights and knowledge with us today. If you'd like to learn more about them and the work they're doing at HUB International, please visit us online at thecannabisreporter.com. Click podcast to find their Pro Series interviews, and that's where you'll find their bios along with information about connecting with them directly. You can also visit hubinternational.com to learn more about their company. We have others to thank. First and foremost, I'd like to express our gratitude to HUB International for supporting our educational platform as a Pro Series sponsor. I'd also like to thank our production team here at the Cannabis Reporter and all of our partners who support our work. And last but not least, thanks to all of you for listening. I'm Snowden Bishop, inviting you to join me again next week, same time, same place, for another episode of the Cannabis Reporter radio show. Until we meet again, be safe, stay informed, share what you've learned, embrace someone you love, tell a stranger you care, and make it a great day. Evergreen is calling.